Okay, we're on the record.
Council agenda, Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Township Council agenda meeting of March 5th, 2019.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on December 19th, 2018, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the Newark Star Ledger on December 27th, 2018, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers and local radio stations on December 19th, 2018. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Cablevision Public Access Channel 21 at 11 a.m. on Sundays and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Please rise for flag salute. Mrs. Grignani, if you would.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Ms. Grignani?
Present.
Ms. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Carriffy?
Here.
Also in attendance are Mayor Soriano, Business Administrator Keith Kazmark, Township Attorney Jim Lott, CFO Ann Cucci, Township Clerk Colette Madden. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, March 19th, 2019 at 7 p.m., regular meeting, and April 2nd, 2019 at 7 p.m., agenda meeting. Approval of minutes. Agenda meeting February 5th, 2019. Regular meeting February 19th, 2019. A reorganization meeting January 3rd, 2019. Presentation reports. Mayor?
First of all, happy Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday to all the Catholics or Christians taking on the Lenten season tomorrow. I'm going to make my life difficult in the township for the next 40 days and just let everyone know I'm giving up bread. So if you see me with a piece of bread, you have my permission to smack my hand and knock it right out, okay? What I really would like to talk about is my thanks and my praise, again, for the Department of Public Works, Sanitation Division, as well as the Water Department, the Sewer Department, and the Parks and Forestry Department for digging us out on the storm Monday morning. I will have you know that I received reports from several people. I did not get to watch News 12 New Jersey Monday morning, that we were singled out as a town that did a very good job with snow removal. I want to thank our blue-collar workers for making it possible to keep Parsippany moving Monday morning. So thank you very much. Other than that, that's thank you.
That's worth an applause. You're right.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Most of you know I come from a blue-collar background. It wasn't too long ago I was working with tools and jeans, and I certainly respect what it takes for people who have to wake up early in the morning when everyone else is sleeping and picking up tools or getting behind a truck and getting things done. So I tip my hat off to them, so thank you very much. Mr. Council President, that concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Township Council proposed budget cuts.
So, when we start this process, I just ask that we speak clearly and slowly so I can make the notes for the minutes.
I'd like to start off with, the mayor's budget came in at 4.72%. We had two budget meetings. One was this past Saturday and one was the previous Tuesday. And we went over every department. At this time, I would like to make a motion. We currently have 13 positions in the township that are spread out through different departments that are not filled at this time. They come to a salary of well over $500,000. Again, these positions, we're not talking about laying anyone off. These are just positions that have not been filled. They're vacant right now within the town. We need to bring this percentage down. You know, especially with the governor just came in with more proposed tax increases, which are going to affect everyone in New Jersey, including people in Parsippany. So I am making a motion because with the salaries and the benefits of these 13 positions that are vacant right now, we could save the town somewhat of a number of about $862,000 off the budget, which with calculations would bring the percentage of the tax increase alone under 3% with that number alone. So I'm making a motion to just freeze those positions right now, that they not be hired, and then come next year, we revisit those positions. But I just think that, you know, as of right now, things are tight, and this is something that we need to do. Also, after that motion, I'll,
I second the motion.
okay.
Okay, so yeah, let's do one by one. So
Yep.
motion made by Mr. Carriffy, seconded by Mr. DePiero, and then we're going to do roll call now. Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
I don't disagree that we should maybe look at some of these positions and freeze them, but there are some positions that I think should remain. Like, for instance, the DPW and the housing. I mean, if there be any consideration to, you know, look at these positions. I honestly don't think we've had enough time, because we did this all last week, just about, that we really have had time to examine this. And I don't, but I think there's positions here that may be more necessary this year than others. So I don't know if we can consider any exceptions.
At this point right now, because there's the motion on the table, if you are looking to consider exceptions, we need to withdraw the motion and then discuss. Otherwise, we're going to need a vote. Council President, are you looking to withdraw your motion at this point?
No.
Okay, so we need a vote. Ms. McCarthy, yes or no?
Well, let me just make, since we're doing comments anyway,
Sure.
I don't disagree with you. At some point in the future, March, April, May, June, if some of these come back as an absolute general necessity and the administration wants us to reconsider, we can do that. For right now, I support cutting them all.
So, for the record, Mr. DePiero has indicated to address Ms. McCarthy's concerns with regards to the two specific positions pertaining to housing and DPW, that down the road, maybe there might be a possibility of allowing them to be brought back and taken out of the freeze. So based on that, Ms. McCarthy, how would you vote?
You know, then I'm going to vote no.
Okay. And Ms. Peterson?
So, the statement you made was that we need to bring this percentage down. This percentage is so high because we are living the legacy of a 0% increase years back. And I don't want to frame it as bringing it down. This is the cost of having a 0 several years ago. And I thought the presentation made by the business administrator was unequivocal with straightforward arithmetic that the issue at hand is not the current percentage, but the previous percentage. And no one should confuse the points that this 4.72 percentage is a luxurious budget by any stretch. And I do not believe that continuing to withhold jobs and to continue to withhold that kind of funding from a business administrator and a mayor whose opinion I respect is the right move. So, no.
Okay. So now we're going to do this one more time. Just yes or no for the record so we can be clear.
No.
So motion made by Council President Carriffy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Through you, Mr.
Wait,
Council President. if
We're
I'm-
still in the middle of the vote, though.
Okay, but can I just get clarification on the motion? Because there were,
Okay.
there were, respectfully, I don't think it was abundantly clear. just to clarify that the motion on the table is to direct myself and the chief financial officer to reduce the budget by the amount of $682,931, which reflects the 2019 budgeted salaries for the 13 aforesaid positions in addition to fringe benefits. Because then subsequently it was said that we would put a hiring freeze in place. So I just want to put on the record, there's a distinguishing factor between cutting the 862,931 out of the budget and having a hiring freeze where we left that dollar amount in place but simply did not hire people for the position.
Okay.
So if we could just get
Thank you for
clarification. on that, I would
Motion is
appreciate it.
no, we're going to freeze it, but we're going to remove that out of the budget so that it brings the tax increase down.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page.
So we're saying-
Thank you,
We're
Mr.
saying
Kazmar.
hiring freeze.
So,
But we're cutting that money out of the budget to bring it down.
so
Which means
the,
that in April and May,
Yeah,
we
but
can't
wait a
change
minute.
our mind.
What happens when we cut that money out of the budget and we don't see a hiring freeze? What if the administration decides to cut it from someplace else? Are we directing this,
so what you're doing, and correct me
either
if,
we're directing this to be a hiring freeze, or we're telling the administration, cut the budget? Which, I thought we were
Well, the
approving a hiring
administration
freeze.
gave us that budget, so they're not cutting
there,
it.
and I think what's happening here, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are making a motion to do a hiring freeze for these 13 positions, but by doing the hiring freeze, you're also directing the BA and the CFO to remove that amount, including fringe benefits, from the budget, thereby bringing down the percentage. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, but I just want to be clear that once the 862,931 is removed from the budget, the hiring freeze really won't be in place because the positions will no longer exist.
So we
in the
cannot
table of
bring these
organization
positions
of the
back.
township.
That's
So,
correct.
so the positions cannot be brought back later on in a later point in time, Mr. Kazmar, correct?
That's correct.
So to clarify again, the motion is
Wait,
being
wait.
made. Go ahead.
A hiring freeze does not mean, that means don't hire now. A freeze means do not hire now.
Mhm.
That does not mean never hire.
So let's ask this question of,
So I'll ask the township attorney.
So
a
there's a
hiring freeze
distinction, so there's an important distinction here, right? You know, the budget appropriates money against identified positions. So if the budget is going to eliminate, in this case, the 13 vacant positions that are funded,
Yeah, but
those
you're using
positions no
but
longer
you're using the word
exist.
eliminate. We didn't use the word eliminate. We said freeze them, freeze the hiring for now.
In which
I
case, the
think-
money stays in
I think
place and the
he's
we
saying
percentage
just
the
need-
doesn't
money
come
has
okay.
to stay in place in
So-
case future use, so there would be no cut to the budget.
Correct.
It's appropriated.
So the only way to reduce, all right, is to eliminate the funded position from the budget.
so what happens if they want to bring back another position? I think that's the question that everybody's asking.
Then you
So,
have to leave that money in the budget.
Correct.
and there's no
So
other way
money-
that
in
you
order
can-
to reduce the budget, the money has to be removed. So
Correct.
my motion was to remove it, and then come next year, if we deem, revenues are better, the economy's better, the budget isn't as high, then we can look to add those positions back in, depending on where we're at.
Fantastic. So the motion stands. We've gotten clarification by Mr. Kazmark with regards to the motion. There's a motion that's been made to freeze these 13 positions, but in a sense, we're going to be removing the positions, including fringe benefits totaling an amount of $862,931. Based on that motion made by Mr. Carriffy, seconded by Mr. DePiero, we're going to do a roll call at this point.
Hold on, wait, hold on. Does that, what you just described, bring the percentage down?
Correct, it does.
And I want to be clear
The
about-
positions are being removed, so we're very clear. Positions are being removed. The money is not going to be there, and we will not be bringing these positions back until next year when we reevaluate the budget. So we all have to be clear on the record. Are we all clear?
Yes.
Correct?
Eliminating jobs.
Jobs that are
Okay.
not filled right now, we're not laying anyone off whatsoever.
Clerk,
Mayor?
for the record, I would like the 13 positions read.
I don't have the 13 positions on me, but if we have them
We're
on
in the
me-
middle of a motion.
Yeah, we have to do the
Let's finish
motion.
this
Yes,
up.
let's do the
finish
motion
it up.
first. We are in the middle of a motion. So, I've already said the motion numerous times. I'm not going to say it again. So, we made it by Council President Carriffy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
No.
Ms. Peterson,
No.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. Secondly, I had an opportunity to speak to some of the people here, and I'm actually truly sorry that you had to come out tonight. I'm sure you guys had other things to do, but apparently there's a rumor out there that we were going to cut the new turf field, the replacement of the turf field. I can tell you that that is not true. At one of our budget meetings, one of the council members had asked Mr. Walsh if we could get another year out of the current turf field, and he explained the condition of the field. At no point at all was that field ever removed from the budget. We're doing budget things now. As far as I'm concerned, it is not going to be removed from the budget. So I know that there are some people that I've spoken to that are here. I don't know where you got that information from, but it's not true. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
Council President,
Go ahead, Mr. DePiero.
I make a motion that we remove from the budget under capital items North Bevick Road Streetscape Phase 1. The capital amount is $1,100,000, but the 5% down payment comes to $55,000. I make a motion we remove that item.
Second.
So we have a motion made to remove the capital item as it pertains to North Beverick Road. The motion, the amount is 1.1 million, but the down payment is 55,000, and the motion is made to remove that amount. The motion was made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. We're going to do a roll call at this point.
Let's do some discussion first.
Sure.
I'm not opposed to beautifying North Bevick Road, but before we go bonding for $1,100,000, I think we need to have some planning, some discussion, some dialogue from planners, from the administration, from the council, and from the public, and from the businesses in Lake Hiawatha, before we go budgeting $1.1 million in capital improvements. So I'm not opposed to this, but we need a lot of work before we actually want to put money in the budget. I
And-
support the effort in the future.
Any other comments before I do a roll call?
Well-
Would the,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
no,
I'm
please,
sorry.
Jen.
No, please.
Would the, either the down payment of $55,000 or the bonded for amount pay for those consultants and planning that you are suggesting?
We don't necessarily have to have paid consultants to begin with. We have a township planner, we have administration, we have council members, we have the public, and we have businesses in Lake Hiawatha. We can start there.
So, in your proposal, the body sitting here, and just by show of hands, no sound, raise your hand
No,
if
we
you're-
cannot do that. We cannot do that.
Sorry,
No, no.
everybody. Still learning the rules. The body sitting here and the businesses on North Beverwick are equipped to devise a workable plan for upgrading a major street.
It's kind of like the mayor is doing with the master plan, okay? Seeking input, getting ideas before you have an actual plan.
May I?
Yeah.
This is what we need to do, I think, for North Bevick Road.
Councilman DePiero,
Yes.
the master plan is the North Beverwick Road improvement. That is
Yeah.
all part of it, and
It's-
part of the
it's a
bonding,
piece of
part
it,
of the
yes.
bonding will pay. The bonding for Beverwick Road will pay for the master plan, because a big focus and a big feature of that is North Beverwick Road.
Well, I need to see some ideas and some plans, because one thing I heard I disagree with is
Where
widening the sidewalks so more businesses can put tables and umbrellas outside.
Well, we're waiting to have the master plan completed, where that will be an assessment. And to get the master plan completed, we need this bond so we can help pay for it and finish it off.
Widening the sidewalk on a very heavily
No one said
traveled road.
anything about widening the sidewalk as a final idea, okay? These are all things that are being thrown around, and right now, when the master plan is completed, we'll know where that goes. And by the way, since you sit on the planning board, you have major input into that.
And I'm willing and able to do that.
But now, we don't have money to pay for
We
it.
don't have the funds, we don't need the funds now, we need discussion now.
Any other discussion with regards to this before I go into roll?
I would just like to say that the master plan is currently being revised right now, so nothing would be done at the earliest until next year anyway.
So now the professional people that we have working on the master plan, you are going to cut off their funding.
So that $1.1 million is strictly for the master plan?
No. The initial cost that we need to spend now is part of the master plan. The other costs that are coming later, that's for the street improvements and the sidewalk improvements.
From maybe this is a question for the business administrator and the CFO. From a points reduction perspective, does the amount is the amount reduced $55,000 or the full amount of the bond?
$55,000.
The
It's
down
only
payment.
it's only the 5% payment, which needs to be budgeted in the operating budget in order to pay for the down payment on the bond.
And Ms. Cucci, what is the percentage point of $55,000?
Just doing the math.
It goes from 2.77% to 2.64. So it's only, what, 13%, 0.13%. It's $3, I believe.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I'd
Yeah,
like
it's less than $3 a year.
Ms. Grignani?
yes. I was a former businesswoman in Lake Hiawatha. And many years ago, former Mayor Letts approached the business renters and owners on North Bevwick Road with low-interest loans to place awnings and to rehabilitate their buildings. I was fortunate that I had a rental facility that the owner of the building had his medical practice in. So whatever needed to be done to my building that I rented, he was willing to do. I don't remember how many other businesses in Lake Hiawatha took advantage of Mayor Letts's proposal. I'm not opposed to upgrading North Bevwick Road. I think it is in dire need. I don't know how many of the business owners, and we do have many business owners that are absentee owners in those buildings. I don't know how many of them would be willing to upgrade their facilities. I think more studies have to be made, and even speak to the business owners themselves as to would they cooperate and upgrade their buildings.
That study will be part of the master plan.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know more about the project myself. When we say we were going to do, are we going to just use this money this year for the planning of it?
Mhm.
And do we have a whole design for it at this point?
So that starts with putting the bond in place to start paying for the professionals. To Councilman DePero's point, any type of public input, solicitation of feedback from the public, from governing body, from the planning board, that starts with the award of a contract, which takes you right from design to bid to award of contract to construction.
And do we,
So to have a planner and to do some studies, okay, you don't need $1.1 million this year.
well, could you speak to that, Keith, a little bit more?
Well, I mean, that's true if we were only to do the design piece, but again, that piece would need to be budgeted for in order for us to execute just the initial aspect of the project. Traditionally, when we do road resurfacing projects, when we do other capital projects, the bond is put in place and it starts with design and it ends with completed construction. We could look at it from a different perspective, but we would need the council to allow us some funding in order to do the preliminary design and feedback portion of the project.
Okay, do you anticipate, if we left this in there, do you anticipate spending $1.1 million this year?
Well, we wouldn't be, even if this was approved as presented by the administration, we would not be spending $1.1 million in
Exactly.
calendar year 2019. We
And
would,
that's my point.
we would be
So-
putting the $55,000 down payment down. We would present a bond ordinance to the council for introduction and adoption, and then we would begin by spending those dollars, and then as we awarded a contract for construction, then there would be a bond put in place where the debt service would be paid back over a series of years.
Okay, so,
Mr.
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Uh,
Mr. Kazmark,
Yes.
are there any grants that the township can apply for?
So we are pursuing, through Millennium Strategies, some grant opportunities through the New Jersey Department of Transportation. As was explained at the budget meeting on Saturday, if we are successful in getting any of those grants, which there's never a guarantee, then we would be able to utilize them towards paying back the debt service. So that's how we would structure any type of grant award to pay down the debt that was incurred on the project, if it
Yeah.
were to be bonded.
I had asked, I think earlier today, about any of the community block grants, if they're still available.
Yes, and the Community Block Grant Program is awarded directly to the township, so I have Justin Lizza looking at whether North Beverwick would be an area that would be designated to
has-
receive those
It
dollars.
has qualified in the past.
Right. That, it does change,
So we could use
Every
some of
2
that
years, but-
funding as well then?
it's possible.
And if we didn't approve this, then we couldn't begin the project at all?
Well, they can still request to see community development block grants and use that money to do the study.
What is the increment of a community block grant financially? How much money are we talking?
Oh, it varies.
The pavers and the curbing and little trees that we have along North Bevick Road, that was all done with CBDG dollars.
That's from HUD?
Yes.
Yeah, any more discussion on the matter?
I would ask, if this were to go through this year, would there be any chance of, if it were approved by the council, would there be any chance of any of this development and reconstruction and work performed this year when the master plan's not even done yet?
No, I don't think so, right? No, right.
Okay, so my question would be, and maybe to alter the proposal, would be, whatever monies is needed for, that is being, out of the, obviously 1.1, it's been stated, 1.1 million is not for the master plan. To reduce that drastically to just be for the amount of money that's needed for the study, to continue that, which has to be drastically less. Because that work's not gonna be done this year, even if it were to be approved. I mean, there's still, the master plan's not done. There still would have to be a lot of planning, a lot of decisions, a lot of, work that would need to be done.
And we may not need that amount of money, $1.1 million, to do upgrades up there anyway.
I think the estimate, though, on the project was about, was it 2.4 million?
Yeah, and it was going to be done.
Yeah.
It was going to be done in two separate work efforts.
So I think,
I think to the council president's point, if the council was willing to allocate $15,000, and I'm making up a number as I'm sitting up here, but based on past experience, I think that's a reasonable number for us to be able to solicit feedback and start design, at least preliminarily. I think that might be an ample compromise.
that's all?
I'll go with, I'll even go with 100,000.
Well, no, we're cutting the, it reduces the budget 55,000.
I
so we
want,
need
I
it-
want, I want, I want the
The
budget
thing-
number. I'll hold off on the
So-
bond if
so-
you give me some money to
So,
do
Mr.
design.
Based on what you said, Mr. Kazmark, and what we just talked about, it appears that you may want to amend the motion to strike from 55,000 to reduce it down to cutting 40,000, thereby leaving 15,000 there for the study.
15,000 down
Do the
payment.
design out of the budget.
Down
And-
payment. Okay.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, Ms. Cucci.
Yes, thank you. When you do a preliminary design in general, you fund that in full. We don't normally bond that. So like what we did with the library, the $15,000 for their feasibility study, we funded that in full.
So let me just say this. What I think Ann is saying is if you wanted to cut the budget by $40,000, kept the $15,000 in, we would not leave it in the capital line item, excuse me, like 410, but we would move it over to planning, and then we'd be able to use that to award a design contract to a firm that could start the preliminary design for North Beverly.
Okay,
But before you do a design contract, this is where I'm getting hung up, okay? Shouldn't we have discussions about what we're going to design?
Yes, we're doing that now, Michael.
But you've had no input from anybody.
We started the master plan last November.
I'm talking about North Beverwick Road, strictly North Beverwick Road.
Just on North, well, we've started part of that, and that's, before the master plan's completed, North Beverwick Road is a huge feature of it. Huge feature of it.
so, it appears that discussions are over on this.
That area has been ignored for a long, long time. And I cannot see the wisdom in ignoring it for another year. Sounds like, hey, Paul can relate to me on this one. This sounds like the guy that says, you know what, I'll start going to the gym tomorrow. And then the next day he says, you know what, I'll start going to the gym tomorrow. We can't keep putting this off. It's out of shape. We got to get it fit. And this is going to be, once we get that Beverwick Road area the way that we all know it can be, it's going to help property values in that area. Revenues are going to start coming in that area. And yes, even the absentee landlords, they're going to find nice offers being made on their properties as nicer places want to come in there. Good businesses, responsible businesses that want to be part of the community and have a good service, a good amenity that's going to provide not only revenue for Parsippany, but also just nice places for us to walk and spend time with our families.
Let me ask this.
Sure.
So, if we were to eliminate, Mr. Kazmark, Mr. DePiero, if we were to eliminate the 1.1 million for the bond, which saves the town $55,000, and then put the $15,000 in for the study, the town is still saving $40,000. Okay. You had said, Mrs. Cucci, that the budget from what we previously did by reducing those 13 people, we're down to, what is it, 2.77? 2.77. Prior to the 1.1. Okay,
Yes.
it's 2.77. If we reduce the budget by that $40,000, what does it drop it down to?
Do you want to take out just a straight 40? Okay.
No, we're saying
No,
well,
the
we're
1.1.
saving 40 because
I got
Mr. Kazmark's looking for the 15,000 for the study.
From 3.72 down?
You get to 2.68.
From
2.68. So we
No,
started
from
the night at
2.7.
4.72. We could be at
2.7 to
2.6.
2.68.
2.68.
Okay, so, based
But I have
on,
to ask Mr. DePiero if he wants to.
yeah, I'm gonna ask him right now.
change his- Okay.
Mr. DePiero, do you want to amend the motion?
Yes, I
Okay.
amend the motion.
So what we'll do is, based on the discussion, the motion will be amended. At this point in time, the motion is to eliminate the $1.1 million, and keep in $40,000.
No,
No,
$15,000.
sorry, I apologize. A lot of discussion going on here. Go ahead, Mr. Kazmark.
No, go.
Okay. So the motion is motion is to eliminate the $1.1 million and keep in $15,000 for the studies to be made on North Beverwick Road. Is that clear enough, or do we need to add anything to that motion?
It's a net budget reduction of 40,000.
Thank you, Mr. Kazmark. So based on that, we have a motion by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani, and we're going to do a roll. We just need a yes or no for the roll call, please. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Mr. Mayor, are we still going to ask our business owners and absentee owners any of their input?
Yes.
Thank you. I vote yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. We have no further cuts.
Before we move on, I would like those 13 positions that are being frozen read into the record.
Sure.
The department and the position.
Do you have it, Clint?
You can have the business administrator read it.
Yeah, I can read it.
Okay, the 13 positions are full-time EMT for paid ambulance,
And what would the salaries be, please?
Can I give you the total
Sure.
position cost, which will be the salaries and the fringe benefits combined?
Okay, thank you.
So EMT part-time, $16,680. EMT full-time, again with the paid ambulance squad, $68,958. Parks and Forestry, laborer 1, $61,980. Mechanic at the DPW, $73,476. DPW laborer 1, $61,980. Sanitation laborer 1, $61,980. Senior building maintenance worker, $99,588. That's with building maintenance. Parks and Forestry, tree maintenance worker 2, $88,615. Parks and Forestry, tree maintenance worker 2, $68,045. Per diem nurse in the health department, $58,190. Field representative field representative for the housing department, $74,969. Police officer in the police department, $64,240. And a second police officer in the police department, also $64,240. I want to again stress that number that I read off is the starting salaries for each of these positions, in addition to their health benefits, pension costs, Social Security costs, etc.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to reiterate that those positions right now, there will be no cut in services because those positions are currently not filled. So all of the services you are receiving in town now, our workers are currently providing you with. So there is no cut in services, which I attribute to the workers that we have for our town, which I feel are top of the line, no doubt in my mind. But I just want to stress that those positions have not been filled. They've been vacant all year. Your services that you've been receiving, there will be no change in those services because those positions have not been filled up to this point.
However, at the sanitation department, where they have a high turnover rate, that can be a problem. And having a hiring freeze, will I be able to replace that worker once they've left?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, those if somebody leaves, if somebody retires or somebody resigns, those positions, these are just additional positions that are not filled.
That's what that one sanitation position is. That's someone who left that we need to fill. And right now we're getting along, but summer comes, people start going on vacation, there's less manpower around, one less person, overtime can increase on this, and I have the same concerns when it comes to the police department. I'm very concerned of what we're potentially doing to ourselves so we can save $4 or $5 a month on our taxes. If we cut too deep, the impact, it could be a serious one. I mean, we're doing a very good job here in Parsippany. I'm lucky enough to stand on the shoulders of others who have done great and to build upon that. But I want to keep going with this. If we start cutting things, I'm concerned about our future. And right now, Councilwoman Peterson alluded to the 0% tax increase, which I'm not going to question the wisdom of those who voted for it or the wisdom of those who proposed it to begin with. What I am going to tell you is what the repercussions are for that. The check is due. It's time to pay it. That's the budget I proposed. A fiscally responsible one. One that may be tough for some to swallow, but we can get through this. We've been rating our sewer utilities, our water utilities, for money to help balance the budget over the years. This is not a good, sound fiscal policy. I am concerned for our future if we keep doing this type of thing. This budget that I'm presenting is not just a one-year budget. This is right now a 6-year budget is what I'm looking for. What I want to be able to do over the years is to be able to increase our bond rating and be able to lower our taxes once they stabilize. But doing this right now, cutting us too tight, this could be very dangerous. Oh, okay, so seven of these positions are replacement? Okay. So,
Well, it was explained to us that those 13 were vacant.
they're vacant, yes,
Right,
but
but that
we
they were
haven't
not
been able to
filled.
replace them with anyone, and we need to. I don't think you should reconsider doing all 13 blanket. It just sounds real easy and neat when you just say, fine, cut those 13 positions for now. But we need to look at each one individually and what it can do.
Well, that's what I had suggested, that we'd step back and take a look at
That's
the
right, you did.
need, but I just have one more question, and I just wanted to ask about, Ann, probably this is for you, the Green Acres.
Yes.
How is that determined, how you use those funds?
It is actually a law. The Green Acres came in, depending on how you purchase, we purchased quite a bit of property on Green Acres, and they came in and audited, and all the funds that are come in or revenue from that property, such as rentals and things like that, all needs to go into a special trust, and then any expenditures that are related to those parks or Green Acre properties must be spent, can be spent out of that reserve. So it just shifted the money from general revenues and general expenses into a trust. So it's a net wash to the township.
Okay, so how you use those funds, is there some priority or some list
Yes.
on how those funds are utilized?
Yes, it has to be on any kind of expenditure or capital that has to do with those parks. So it could be Parks and Forestry people, which I did
Right,
put it in
right,
there, and
right.
also recreation personnel.
I was just wondering if there were some other priorities, something to do with the
This-
cleanup or mitigation of some of the...
No, it's basic maintenance, and it could be for capital or cleanup, but it has to be on a property that was purchased by Green Acres funds.
Well, one of the things that we could do with that is, if the playground equipment in some of the parks require replacement, in those Green Acres parks, we could use the funds for replacement.
We can, but that would mean that I have to reduce the amount of money I'm offsetting in the Parks and Forestry right now. So, for example, if we're getting $300,000 in revenue, I've offset that in maintenance by $300,000. I would have to change that number to like 250, and
All
we
I'm
would.
saying is the money could be used for that.
Yes,
Okay.
it can be used for capital as well.
So in the interest of time, if they're, okay, go ahead, Mayor.
One other last point, and then back to you, Clerk. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
There are 3 positions listed here for the Parks and Forestry Department. 2 are for tree maintenance, and one of them is for a laborer. Jim Walsh, the Director of Parks and Forestry, held off on filling those positions until the spring for when those positions are really needed. Right now, he thought it was good fiscal policy to not hire anyone. But come April, we're going to need people. We are called a tree city for a reason. My goodness, it's one of our symbols for the township of Parsippany. And these trees require a lot of maintenance. And what I'm concerned about, again, is if we do not fill those 3 positions or have the ability to do it, what the town could potentially look like, and again, overtime, which costs more than just having someone do it on straight time. So here it is, you went to save money, and now we're going to wind up spending more money. Back to you, Clerk.
Can I ask one
Thank
fast
you, Mayor.
question?
You sure can.
And I think this is from Mr. Lott. Does the words hiring freeze impact seasonal employment at all?
It depends on whether or not the seasonal employment is as an appropriated position in the budget.
That was brought up at our budget meeting, and it was not to include the seasonal. So the seasonal people
I-
can still be hired.
So you, through you, Council President, and I'm glad that Councilman Peterson brought this up, because, listen, these cuts that are being proposed in this budget process, once the budget is handed over to the council, is our policy decisions, and that's what the governing body and the mayor are here to do. From mine and Ms. Cucci's standpoint, we're here to execute the direction of the governing body. So I do want to just get some clarification so that I'm on sure footing tomorrow morning when we start to implement these changes as we prepare to introduce this budget 2 weeks from tonight. These 13 positions will be eliminated to the tune of $862,931. We'll reduce the $40,000 from the capital budget for the 5% down payment, move $15,000 over to planning for startup costs for North Beverwick Road. But I do want to clarify the term hiring freeze, because I got two different answers during the course of the discussion tonight. Absent these 13 positions, if someone walks in tomorrow and tenders their resignation as a laborer down at sanitation, the expectation is that the administration, because that money is still budgeted for that employee who's departing, that we can still fill that
Yes.
position. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And with regard to seasonal positions, which currently don't exist, especially
What are in the budget?
at DPW, at the Knoll, and at some of the other blue-collar locations, there's no issues with bringing on and onboarding those seasonal employees
No issues.
because they perform that function.
No
Correct.
Clear sailing. Thank you.
But
Thank
1 minute, because I want to get back
No,
to
no,
this.
whatever. I have all
I
night,
just
guys.
wanted
So
to
whatever
get
you guys
back
want.
to this. Yeah, well, I just wanted to get back to this open space. My point was, are there priorities for the Green Acres other than parks? Like, for instance, like, this flood plan mitigation or something like that. I mean, do we put it in some sort
It
of
needs
order?
to be related to Green Acres property.
Yeah, and I'm saying, are there higher priorities?
It could be. I mean, what we did, just because this is the first year, I just put the money and split it between the two departments of recreation and parks and forestry in their regular maintenance of in lieu and with the best interest of the budget. Okay, so I offset it. Normally, that money would have gone into general revenues and offset the regular.
I think the best way to describe this in layman's terms is that money that was in the trust was used for special projects in the past concerning green acres, open space, recreation, those types of things. What we decided to do was, in order to cut down the operating budgets of recreation and parks and forestry, we used an allocation of open space money to supplement their operating expenses. It was one of the cuts that we made during this process that began in October and, led to the budget presentation of 2 weeks ago.
And there's an important legal distinction here,
no.
right? There's Green Acres money, which
Yeah.
comes from the state, which is primarily
That's-
designed for the acquisition of property. And then there is the Open Space Trust Fund money.
Right, don't mix it up. We're just
Don't-
talking Green
right, don't-
Acres right now.
Don't mix those up, because
Yeah.
they are really two separate pots of money.
Happens to be just the Green Acres revenue generated from the Green
Correct.
Acres purchased property. The Knoll is a perfect example.
Right.
Any of that money that's generated from the Knoll must be spent on the Knoll. Any money that's generated at Veterans Park must be spent on one of the parks. That's all they're trying to say. So all we did was extract those monies and put it into its own place, into a reserve.
We're using trust fund reserve money, and we're moving it over to supplement the operating.
Yeah, it's a
We
wash.
cut operating, we're using trust fund. That's really what it boils down
And
to.
that's something that's, okay, with the,
Yes, this has been the preferred state practice for years.
And we just began that in
Recently.
2018.
2018,
Yeah.
correct.
I just asked Mr. Lott that question, if it was state mandated.
Yes.
Yes.
So rather than generating it through taxation in the operating budget, we've cut that, and we're utilizing the reserves to cover some of the costs that we would normally have generated through taxation.
Yeah, it's a wash, really.
I think it's all yours, Colette.
No, I'm
We're good?
whatever you guys want. Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Township Attorney, Mr. Lott.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Okay, Business Administrator, Mr. Kazmark.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight we have a presentation on the trap, neuter, release program. This was something that both the mayor and Councilman DiPiero brought to my attention shortly after arriving here in Parsippany. We had kicked around the idea of having our animal control division, and we have the head of that, Heidi Mooney, with us tonight, implement that within her division. However, with the lack of a facility to house cats for up to 7 days after they are spay or neutered, in addition to only having 3 individuals assigned to the animal control division, that became a challenge. So from there, the mayor's office primarily went out and solicited some assistance from some potential nonprofit organizations to help us with the TNR program that we would like to propose. It was one of the additions to the budget that was presented 2 weeks ago. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Diane Thompson from Smitten by Kittens, who we've met with and who we believe may be able to help Parsippany in this endeavor.
Hi, guys. Council, Mayor, Keith.
Good
Thanks
evening.
for giving me the opportunity to come here and speak about a topic that's near and dear to my heart and for the citizens. Sorry for my back. I have been a participant in TNR efforts, what we have traditionally referred to as trap, neuter, return, what is now being called trap, neuter, vaccinate, and manage. But all the acronyms really mean is we're finding a way to cost effectively,
I'm gonna write
with
it down,
attention to
remember.
public health, and humanely manage feral cat populations. And so the mayor's interested in this topic. He's asked us to come in. I've worked with Heidi, and we had a third person who helped us prepare, who unfortunately was deathly ill tonight, not here. But we've got information that represents Heidi's experience as an animal control officer, my 13 years invested in animal rescue, and I'm currently a director of Smitten by Kittens, which is a 501c3 organization. I've worked with a number of other volunteer groups. And Jane Guillaume, who's the executive director of People for Animals, which is the largest low-cost spay-neuter organization in the state. She helped us to prepare our materials. Unfortunately, she's ill and could not present tonight. My goal here is to educate you guys a little, to answer any questions, and if there's anything that we can't clarify tonight, I'll be sure to follow up and give you the information that you're looking for to make good decisions. Is that cool? So, and please stop me if I'm not making sense, because this is for you. So, what's the problem? It's actually a question.
Where's Colette?
You know what, just push that button on the bottom.
Try that,
Again.
yeah.
It may light, did it light up?
Is there another one?
If you guys don't mind, I can make myself heard.
No, we need that.
No, it has to
Colette,
be,
it's
it's
not working.
recorded.
What are we doing here?
Microphone.
The mic's not working.
It's working now. Sorry, guys. So, what's the problem? So, as an animal control officer, Heidi probably deals with this every day. Guys,
Oh, man.
what's the protocol? Face you, face them? This is weird.
You have to face us.
Sorry.
I struggled with that.
Sorry, guys. Yeah. You guys get the good view. Just let me know if you can't see. So, the issue is, as an animal control officer, Heidi's probably the person that faces this problem the most. And for some people, you probably don't notice. There's a lot of cats.
Did it again, Colette.
It's not me, I swear.
How about if you just use the microphone? That could help.
Of course, the clerk's thing is going on.
Clerk, did you neuter the microphone? Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Heidi, you should have brought some kittens with you. You could have passed them out to everyone. As you know, they could have oohed and awed a little bit. Would have been good. Okay, yeah, that wouldn't be the first time we've had cats in town hall.
And I say that just for the purposes of supporting tonight's conversation, Anne helped me put together a packet, so there's some material for each of you guys. I'm going to make reference to some of this information. Believe me, there's reams of information, but if you wish to educate yourselves at all, I just gave you a bit of...
Diane, the reason we need the microphone is not just so the people in the back can hear, but this is recorded.
No, I'm not starting. I'm just letting them know they have...
Well, as a sign of progress, and as a sign of moving forward, this has always been known as trap, neuter, release, which is what Councilman DiPiero has always known. And he said, I don't know if I'm going to learn the new term, Mayor. I like my TNR. He just now wrote down on his thing, so I can memorize it, Mayor. Trap, neuter, vaccinate, manage. TNVM. Thank you, Councilman.
I haven't memorized it yet.
Me neither, Mike.
And it's also difficult to use in a sentence or...
TNVM? TNVM. That's it, TNVM. That's it, TNVM.
TNR was easy.
Exactly.
Hello.
Okay.
All right, now start where you were.
I thank you. Okay, so again, I let you know there's some materials, but back to the cats. So, when I sat down with the mayor, Mr. Kazmark, and the way I like to start this conversation is there are cats living in a lot of places that you may occasionally see. Maybe they're in the dumpster behind the Burger King, or if you go to an apartment community, you might see them streaking across a parking lot, and your head may say, oh, they're a neighbor's cat. But there's actually a lot of cats that spend their entire lives without really interacting with humans. And it's kind of an unnoticed problem, but the fact is if they were dogs, you'd notice. We don't have a stray dog problem in the Northeast. We haven't had a stray dog problem really since consciousness came about in the early 70s. I mean, in fact, most of the animal shelters and adoption facilities here in the Northeast import dogs from down south because we don't literally have enough dogs to support the people that want to adopt them. But cats are a different problem because they live differently. They've been a member of our community. Outdoor cats have been part of the climate that we've lived in, since the Mayflower, right? But unfortunately, the population, if allowed to grow unchecked, will reach a level that most people find unappealing for a number of reasons. And using some calculations and some common models used by animal control officers and rescuers, we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,500 to 9,000 feral cats in the township of Parsippany. Now, it's a big number. It's not a problem until you think about the fact that there's probably large concentrations of these cats in certain areas where they cause complaints. There are actions taken at cost by the township to try to manage just a few members of this population. What I'm here to talk to you tonight about, trap, neuter, vaccinate, and manage, is a much more cost-effective approach. It will help you meet your objectives as they relate to public health more rapidly, and frankly, it's a more modern and humane approach. This is not only commonly accepted, but it is becoming the model. People in general are becoming more humane in how they approach their lifestyles, their eating choices, and this is the way modern communities are now managing what we call our community cats. So historically, trap, neuter, remove has been a standard, and in fact, prior to Mayor Soriano's election, it was what was done here in Parsippany. And what that meant was when Heidi's team would get a call from someone who was concerned about cats, they would go trap the animals, they would hold them for 7 days to ensure no owner showed up, and then they would kill them. It doesn't work, unfortunately, because you can't really make a dent on a breeding population of 4,500 to 9,000 animals by removing a couple hundred a year. And so to realistically reduce the population of animals that can breed at will, you need to attach 75% of the population. You need to get below the halfway mark to really reduce or create a decrease in the population over time. And you can't do this 250 cats at a time. Mathematically, you're talking 33, 35, 5,000 cats a year. It's not feasible to address it in this way with trap, neuter, kill. These are the records for the last, for 2015 through 2017, which was the last year that trap, neuter, kill was used in Parsippany. And as you can see, Heidi's team, despite their best efforts, there's only so many cats they can trap and manage in this fashion. And again, more to the point, it's not an effective way in managing the population, because if it were, you'd have fewer cats, which I promise you don't. So briefly, trap, neuter, vaccinate, and manage is the modern approach to management of feral cat populations for the reasons you see here. But it depends on what your orientation is. It's fiscally much more effective for the town. Both in the medium and in the long term, there's benefits to reducing that cat population. Part of it relates to public health and the cost of maintaining the status quo, but also in the future, you'll have the opportunity to turn both your officers and your facility potentially into revenue generators for the town. You're spending less time chasing cats. You have more capacity to provide paid services to other communities. It's an accepted method. This isn't a test or a pilot. When I first was meeting with the mayor and his team, we're like, oh, maybe let's do a pilot. And my colleagues in rescue absolutely reject that concept. There's no test needed. There are cat colonies that have been documented as far back as the 70s where this mechanism has been used and proven time and time again statistically, and it's supported by many organizations, including those you see here, as the gold standard for humanely addressing cat issues. Here's how it works. It's pretty straightforward. The cats are already here. Heidi knows where a lot of them are. And when we talk to the township and the people in the town about the fact that we're going to address cats in this more conscious way, people are going to come out of the woodwork and start talking about either the cats that they're managing or cats that they're concerned about, which helps us hone our efforts. We trap the cats. We remove and adopt out any friendly individuals, cats or kittens, in places where you have a lot of transient populations, like apartment complexes. Many of the free-roaming cats are in